The Gauntlet had never been meant to be survived. Its architects designed it to break civilizations, not test them, a theater of boiling rock and bone-cracking pressure, broadcast to a galaxy that mistook cruelty for spectacle. For centuries, species volunteered, lured by the Federation's honeyed lies of honor and cosmic unity. None returned. Their remains vaporized in the volcanic maw of Ignis Prime, their failures edited into propaganda reels. See The Cost of Defiance. The Federation's senators sipped nebula wine and whispered, "Let them believe, it's a game." Then came the humans. Not conquerors, not martyrs, volunteers. They arrived unarmed, laughing as they signed waivers etched with lethal small print. Their homeworld was dying, its skies choked with the smoke of their own hubris, and desperation made them curious. The Federation sneered. Deathworlders, they called them, a patronizing term for creatures who'd evolved under rogue stars and poison skies. Let them try, the senators sneered. Let them burn. But the humans did not burn. Not like the others. They studied the Gauntlet's lava flows like mathematicians, cursed its geysers like old lovers, and treated its drones like bothersome flies. When the first human completed the course, she didn't raise a flag or chant a victory cry. She knelt, scooped a magma sample into a vial and muttered, "This barely toast a marshmallow." The Federation deleted the footage. They could not delete the fear. Chapter 1. Kara Vance's tungsten leg sank into the ash as she climbed the ridge, the sulfuric wind clawing at her respirator. Below, the Venusian lava field simmered, a quilt of orange and black that hissed like a living thing. She adjusted the spectrometer on her wrist, its screen flickering. No anomalies, just another Tuesday. Her prosthetic, forged from scavenged tungsten, its surface pocked by years of abuse, thrummed faintly as it conducted the ground's heat. She'd nicknamed it Old Reliable, though there was nothing sentimental about it. It was a tool, like the pickaxe strapped to her pack, or the half-melted canteen she'd refilled with vodka. Tools didn't break promises. Tools didn't die screaming in your arms on a comms-delayed holocall. A tremor shook the ground. Kara froze, instinct flattening her against the ash. The memory flashed, unbidden, her brother's voice, tinny through the speakers of her research outpost. "They're calling it a peacekeeping mission. Care, you believe that?" Then the static, then the silence. She'd been halfway through recalibrating the outpost's seismographs when the alert chimed. 3 years ago, 3 years 7 months, 14 days, the ridge stabilized. She exhaled, her breath fogging the respirator. "Focus. You're here for the data, not the ghosts." The Federation's latest climate stabilization initiative required mapping Venus's mantle shifts, a job no AI could navigate without shorting in the acid clouds. Kara's superiors had called her uniquely qualified. She knew what that meant. Expendable. Back in the crawler, she stripped off her suit, the airlock's decontamination spray stinging her knuckles. The cockpit smelled of burnt coffee and solder, holoscreens flickering with readouts. A priority message blinked on the comms panel. Federation seal, blood red and self-important. She deleted it unread. They could wait. They always did. Nosage was waiting again when she docked at Kepler Station, this time as a hologram hovering above her bunk. The Federation emblem rotated lazily, casting jagged shadows over the peeling bulkheads. Kara tossed her pack onto the bed, the vials of Venusian rock clinking. Persistent bastards. She jabbed the playback button. Lieutenant Vance. The hologram resolved into a sinewy humanoid with iridescent scales. Undersecretary Vraxis, his vocal translator dripping faux warmth. "Your expertise is requested for a historic opportunity. The survival gauntlet on Ignis Prime, a test of species resilience. Naturally, humanity's participation would be." She killed the projection. Her hands didn't shake. That surprised her. The Gauntlet. Everyone knew the Gauntlet. Televised slaughter dressed up as intergalactic sport, where species volunteers navigated a molten hellscape while Federation elites placed bets. No one survived. Not the methane-breathing Cathar, Not the phase-shifting Zin, not last week's entrance, the Neva, crystal-skinned philosophers from some backwater system. They'd lasted 17 seconds, long enough for their leader to raise a faceted hand, to speak, before the lava tide swallowed them. The broadcast had cut to a jingle for Federation energy bars. Kara lay back on the bunk, the coolant lines in old reliable whining. The ceiling had a stain shaped like her brother's face. You'd hate this, she told him. All this talk of honor. You hated speeches. He'd enlisted to pay her tuition, though he'd never admit it. Someone's gotta keep the galaxy safe from space rocks, he'd joked. The rocks that killed him weren't celestial. Another alert chimed. A newsfeed auto-played. Controversy erupts as Navathi fragments recovered from Gauntlet reveal trace radiation. Conspiracy theorists claim. Kara silenced it. Her thumb traced the dog tags fused to old Reliable's joint. Duty is love with its work boots on. His last message, his epitaph. She reopened Vraxis's hologram. Let it play. Generous compensation, of course. Mining rights on Ignis Prime. Should you endure? Vraxis's teeth glittered. A token of gratitude for your service. Kara's laugh was a dry thing. Mining rights. They thought her greedy, small. They didn't know about the isotope. The real reason Ignis Prime's magma churned in Federation labs. She'd seen the reports buried in the Venusian database. A compound stable only in hyper-pressurized lava, capable of binding atmospheric carbon. Earth's cure. If harvested in time. If someone survived the harvest. She stood, her shadow stretching across the hologram. Counteroffer, she said, knowing the AI would record it. Full terraforming rights on Ignis Prime, autonomy for human colonies in Sector 9, and a public apology from my brother. Let them parse which demand mattered. The reply came in 12 minutes. Terraforming rights granted. Sector 9 remains under Federation jurisdiction. The fallen are honored in their silence. She expected the refusal. The game was clear, but the isotope, Earth's ice caps flashed in her mind. The refugee camp swelling as the permafrost burned. Her brother's voice. Someone's gotta. She hit accept. Minor. The shuttle to Ignis Prime. Stank of antiseptic and alien musk. Kara sat apart from the other contestants. A Talok warrior sharpening its carapace. A gelatinous Yule quivering in its tank. All doomed. All pawns. She studied the Navathi fragment in her palm. A shard no larger than a thumb drive, retrieved from the Gauntlet's wreckage by a Venusian scavenger, paid for in vodka. Its surface caught the light, prismatic, stress fractures, she noted. The Navathi had died afraid. The shuttle lurched, entering Ignis Prime's orbit. Kara strapped in. Old Reliable's joints hissing. Through the viewport, the moon swelled, a cauldron of crimson and gold, its surface veined with lava. Cold as Minnesota winters, she lied to herself, and almost smiled. Chapter 2. The shuttle's landing struts hissed as they kissed Ignis Prime's surface, molten rock splattering the viewports like arterial spray. Kara unstrapped herself. The Navathi shard a cold prism against her thigh. Through the cracked glass, the horizon shimmered, a fever dream of lava rivers and jagged obsidian teeth. The airlock groaned open, and heat punched into the cabin, thick enough to suffocate. She adjusted her respirator, the filters already clogging with ash. Cold as Minnesota winters, she repeated, a mantra now, and stepped into the furnace. Minor. The glass plains stretched before her, a wasteland of blackened silica. Every step crunched, the ground brittle as ancient bone. Federation drones circled overhead, lenses glinting. Witnesses to the spectacle, she thought. Her prosthetic leg sank deeper than the organic one, tungsten claws gripping the unstable crust. She knelt, pressed her palm to the glassy surface. Vibrations hummed through old Reliable's sensors, subsurface lava tubes, serpentine and volatile. Her brother's voice flickered in her mind. Half taunt, half lesson. Never trust solid ground, Car. It's just lava taking a nap. She moved laterally, tracing the thermal signatures. The drones dropped lower, impatient. Let them wait. She chipped a magma sample, the molten rock oozing into her vial like syrup. Tourist trap, she muttered. The vial hissed, sealing itself. A notification blinked on her wrist spectrometer. Temp, 1247 degrees Celsius, she snorted. Venus's midnight side had spoiled her. A crack spider webbed beneath her boots. She lunged, old Reliable's joints screaming, as the ground collapsed into a lava tube. The fall lasted seconds. She landed in a crouch, ankle deep in a sluggish orange river. The tube's walls glowed, bioluminescent fungi painting Rorschach patterns. Beautiful, deadly. Her brother would have sketched them in his field journal. She waded upstream, the lava tugging at her legs. The heat was a living thing here, gnawing through her suit's insulation. Sweat pooled in the small of her back. A shadow moved in the fungi's glow. Humanoid, charred. Kara froze. The figure dissolved into ash, its silhouette lingering, like a hologram. Ghosts, or heat stroke. She tightened her grip on the vial. Keep moving. The tube spat her out at the base of the screaming vents. Geysers of superheated gas tore the sky, their shrieks harmonizing into a dirge. Kara crouched behind a basalt column, calculating intervals. 5 seconds between eruptions, 10 seconds of calm, survivable, barely. The Navathi shard pulsed in her pocket, a faint chime. She pulled it out. Its fractures gleamed, light bending like a plea. You're not dying twice on my watch, she said. A geyser erupted, closer. She shoved the shard into her pack and ran. The ground ruptured. A jet of scalding gas engulfed her left side. Her suit's alarms wailed. She rolled, smothering flames with ash. The smell of burnt polymer filled her mask. 2nd-degree burns, maybe 3rd. Her medkit spat out a coagulant patch. She slapped it on. The pain a distant throb. Adrenaline, her oldest friend, hummed in her veins. Another vent hissed awake. She dove into a crevice, the rock slicing her palms. The shard's chime intensified. She unzipped her pack. The shard hovered, casting fractured light on the crevice wall. Symbols flickered. Alien glyphs, or a trick of the heat. Pressure. Release. The words bloomed in her mind. Not heard but felt, like a bone-deep itch. She glanced at the geysers. Release. She unhooked a concussion grenade from her belt. Federation issue. Rigged to fail. Tossed it into the nearest vent. The explosion was a wet cough. The geyser stuttered. Died. Clever, she breathed. The shard dimmed, its light guttering. Sacrifice. The glyphs seemed to say, ours. Yours, minor. The bloodforge awaited. A canyon of black basalt, its walls studded with Federation drones. They buzzed like carrion flies, dropping crates stamped with the emblem of a clenched fist. Survival gear, a mechanized voice intoned. Kara pried open a crate, a broken plasma rifle, a single oxygen tablet, a note, for the worthy. She laughed, a raw jagged sound. Try harder. The canyon's air reeked of sulfur. She scraped yellow crystals from the walls, ground them into powder with her boot, mixed them with resin from a heat-blistered tree. The mask she fashioned was crude, its filter a torn strip of her scorched suit lining. It fit, it worked. The drones tracked her. She saluted them with the oxygen tablet, then let it dissolve on her tongue. Sweetness burst in her mouth, a childhood memory, of maple candy. Her brother's face, grinning through a snowball fight. Duty is love with its work boots on. Night fell, or the moon's rotation mimicked it. The temperature plunged to a balmy 800 degrees Celsius. Kara found the cave by accident, its entrance hidden behind a curtain of magma fall. Inside, the walls were ivory, bones, thousands, fused into columns, human femurs, Cathar skulls, Zen vertebrae, translucent as glass, a shrine to failure. Her boot dislodged a helmet, human, Federation insignia, a serial number, J. Vance, her brother's. She sank to her knees. The helmet's visor was cracked, a bullet hole, clean, not the gauntlet. Execution. The Navathi shard sang, a sound like breaking ice. She pressed it to the helmet. Light blazed. Memory. Her brother, kneeling in this cave, a drone aiming, his last words. Tell Kara. The vision snapped. Kara stood. Her hands shook now. Good. Let them. The crucible erupted at dawn. The volcano's caldera yawned, spewing ash and rage. Federation ships circled, cameras zooming. Kara stared up the slope, her brother's helmet lashed to her pack. Old Reliable's tungsten glowed, fully charged. She plunged the prosthetic into the lava flow. The sensors spiked, then stabilized. Heat sink, ladder. She climbed. Molten rock cascaded around her. The drone swarmed, firing warning shots. She ignored them. Her hand closed over the caldera's rim. A drone descended, blocking her path. Contestant Vance, surrender for decontamination. She grinned, pulled the pin on her last grenade. Yelp review, she said. Tell Vraxis. The grenade clinked into the volcano. The eruption blew the drone to scrap. Kara hauled herself over the rim, raised her middle finger to the cameras, and fired her distress flare. It streaked skyward, a crimson scratch on the universe's face. Somewhere, a shard of crystal laughed. Chapter 3. The flare's crimson streak dissolved into Ignis Prime's ash-choked sky, leaving Kara alone on the caldera's edge. Below, the volcano grumbled, its fury spent. Federation drones circled like vultures, lenses zooming in on her battered form. She spat a glob of soot and blood onto the obsidian, her respirators filter wheezing. 3 out of 5 stars, she thought. Generous. Old Reliable whined as she limped down the slope, her brother's helmet clanking against her pack. The Navathi shard hummed against her thigh, its fractured light painting the rocks with faint constellations. She ignored the drones. Let them watch. Let them see. Mears Kepler Station's comms tower blinked through the haze, a needle of cold steel stabbing the horizon. Kara's crawler, scavenged from a Gauntlet supply dump, coughed black smoke as it lurched across the molten flats. The isotope's coordinates glowed on her wrist display, a pulse synchronized with the shard's vibrations. Almost there. The cave entrance yawned at the base of a basalt cliff, its mouth choked with the bones of failed contestants. Kara kicked aside a Zin femur, the hollow clatter echoing into darkness. Her headlamp flickered on, revealing walls veined with bioluminescent moss. The air stank of decay and ozone. Deep within, the cavern opened into a cathedral. Stalactites of pure tungsten dripped from the ceiling, their tips glowing white-hot. At the center, a pool of magma churned, its surface swirling with iridescent filaments. The isotope, Hyperion 7, the Federation's buried secret, Earth's lifeline. She knelt, unspooling a heat-proof canister from her pack. The shard's hum crescendoed, light refracted through its fractures, casting glyphs onto the magma. Hurry, they seemed to say, before they come. Mir. The Yelp review uploaded at 0300 station time. Kara slumped in the crawler's cockpit, her burned hands trembling as she typed. 3/5 stars. Lava's lukewarm drones are cheap, and the killer scenery is just sad. Needs more sharks. P.S. Try the veal. She attached a photo of her middle finger raised against the erupting crucible, her brother's helmet visible in the foreground. The response was instantaneous. Federation alerts flooded the comms, their shrill tones harmonizing with the crawler's engine roar. News feeds splintered. Riots on Kafar mining colonies, Zin rebels storming embassy gates, human graffiti defacing the Luna Parliament dome. Deathworlders, don't break. The Navathi shard pulsed, warm against her skin. Good, she thought. Burn it down. The drones found her at dawn. She was siphoning magma into the canister when the cave shuddered. Rocks clattered from the ceiling. Old Reliable's sensors screamed. Heat signatures converging. 12, maybe 20. Federation hunter-killers, their plasma coils charging. Kara sealed the canister, right on time. She triggered the crawler's overload sequence and bolted. The explosion lit the cavern. Tungsten stalactites melting into slag. Hunter-killers writhed in the inferno, their alloy shells dripping like candle wax. She didn't look back. Navathi found her at dusk. She'd collapsed in a lava tube. The canister clutched to her chest. Cold seeped through her suit. Shock setting in. The shard's light guttered. Pathetic, she told herself. He'd have lasted longer. A chime. Crystalline fingers brushed her cheek. Kara flinched, reaching for her knife. The Navathi collective loomed above her, their fractured bodies, interlocking like a stained glass mosaic. No faces, no voices, just light, bending into something that resembled understanding. One pressed a shard to her forehead. Memory, a Navathi elder, whole and radiant, standing before the Federation Council. You steal our sky, our stone, we will not sing your lies. A trigger pulled, a crystal heart shattered. The vision shifted, her brother alive in the cave, scribbling coordinates on the wall. Hyperion 7, for Kara, she gasped. The collective stepped back, their forms trembling. The tallest, a spire of amethyst shards, gestured to the canister. Light bled from their core, sketching a map in the ash. The moon's core, a reactor, a countdown. Implode the gauntlet, Kara rasped, and the isotope dies with it. The spire tilted, a shard detached, floating to her palm. Sacrifice, it whispered without words. Life from death. Her brother's voice, faint but clear. Since when do you play it safe? The reactor core was a fist of black iron, buried beneath 3 miles of magma. Kara descended in a Federation escape pod, captured, rewired, stinking of alien musk. The Navathi collective followed, their shards orbiting her like satellites. You don't have to do this, she said, calibrating the detonator. The spire pulsed, a shard drifted to her brother's helmet, its light caressing the bullet hole. Yes, it said. We do. Navathia. The countdown started at midnight. Kara stood at the core's threshold, the detonator hot in her hand. Hyperion 7 glowed in its canister, a miniature sun. The Navathi ringed the reactor, their song vibrating the air. A dirge, a lullaby, a war cry. Hunter-killer engines roared above. The Federation had come. She armed the detonator. The spire stepped forward, shards unfolding like wings. Go, it sang. We are already broken. Kara ran. The core imploded in silence, a black hole of pure negation. The Navathi shattered, their light tearing through the magma in radiant filaments. The shockwave hurled her pod upward, screaming through layers of rock. She watched through the viewport as Ignis Prime's surface folded inward, the gauntlet, collapsing like a rotten tooth. Hyperion 7's canister glowed beside her, safe. Alone, the escape pod crash-landed in the glass plains. Kara crawled free, old reliable sparking. The sky burned with dying ships, Federation and Rebel alike. In the distance, a new mountain rose, Ignis Prime's corpse, crowned with swirling crystal dust. She knelt, burying the Navathi shard in the ash. Grow, you bastards, she muttered. Grow and haunt them. When the dust cleared, a sapling pierced the glass, basalt and amethyst, its leaves singing in the thermal winds. Somewhere, a galaxy away, her brother laughed. Chapter 4. The crystal basalt tree sang as Kara limped past it, its leaves chiming in the thermal winds. She didn't look back. Behind her, Ignis Prime's corpse smoldered, its new mountain range already weeping lava. Ahead, the escape pod lay half buried in glass dunes, its hull streaked with soot and Navathi light. The Hyperion 7 canister glowed in her arms, heavier than her brother's coffin. Old Reliable's knee joint sparked, scorching her thigh. She welcomed the pain. It kept her awake. It kept her honest. Moearth's orbital blockade materialized as a swarm of steel teeth, Federation warships glinting in the sun's pale glare. Kara's stolen pod shuddered, its fuel reserves bleeding fumes. She strapped the isotope canister to her chest, the straps crossing over her brother's dog tags. Duty is love with its work boots on. The tags had fused to her prosthetic, their edges melted during the gauntlet's final eruption. Now they clicked against the canister, a metronome, counting down to something worse than death. Identify yourself, blared a comms officer, his face pixelating on her cracked screen. Kara muted him. The pod's nav system flickered, plotting a course through the blockade's blind spot, a debris field of dead satellites. She'd studied these coordinates years ago, back when her brother joked about deserting to become a space janitor. Someone's gotta clean up this mess, he'd said. Now the mess would save them. She punched the thrusters. Moers,
The debris field was a graveyard of dead tech. Kara wove through skeletal solar arrays and gutted drones, old reliables' claws gouging the control panel as she banked. The warships fired, their plasma bolts vaporizing a derelict freighter. Shrapnel spider webbed the viewport. Still here, she told the ghost of her brother, her voice raw. A missile locked on. She killed the pod's engines, drifted. The missile shot past, detonating a communications satellite. Its explosion rippled outward, a chain reaction tearing through the blockade. Kara reignited the thrusters, slipping through the firestorm like a thief. Earth filled the viewport, a sickly blue marble, its ice caps reduced to scabs. She'd seen hollows of its glory days, forests, oceans, cities that didn't stink of decay. Now smoke plumed from the equator, the refugee camps, visible even from orbit. Home, she thought, and hated herself for the ache in her chest. Norse, the landing burned through the pod's last fuel. Kara crash-landed in what used to be Saskatchewan, the impact driving old Reliable's knee joint into her femur. She screamed, then laughed, then vomited over the canister. Dawn broke over the dead wheat fields, the air tasting of acid and burnt plastic. She dragged herself toward a concrete bunker, its entrance marked with a faded red cross. A child's face peered from a slit in the door. "I've got the cure," Kara croaked. The bunker exploded. She woke in a cave, the walls slick with lichen. The isotope canister sat beside her, intact. A woman crouched nearby, her face hidden beneath a scavenged Federation helmet. "They bombed the clinic," the woman said. Her voice was a rasp, familiar in a way that made Kara's ribs ache. "Why?" "Same reason they built the Gauntlet. Control." The woman lifted her visor. Kara's breath caught. Captain Elena Voss, her brother's commanding officer, presumed dead in the same ambush. Voss tossed her a canteen. "Drink. You look like hell." The water was tepid, metallic. Kara drank anyway. "How long was I out?" 3 days. "The resistance has the isotope. We're synthesizing it now." Voss nodded to the cave's mouth, where a column of smoke stained the sky. "Your Navathi friends left a message." Outside, a crystal basalt sapling pierced the cracked earth, its leaves vibrating in the toxic wind. Kara knelt, pressing her palm to the soil. The tree hummed, its roots already threading through the bunker's rubble. "Grow," she thought. "Haunt them." The Federation came at dusk. Kara stood on a ridge overlooking the resistance camp. Old reliable sensors, scanning the horizon. Tanks rumbled over dead crops, their cannons glowing. She'd rigged the perimeter with plasma mines, their triggers wired to her prosthetic. "You don't have to do this," Voss said, her rifle slung over a shoulder. Kara adjusted the isotope injector on her wrist. The cure spread through the camp's aquifer now, slow but irreversible. "Yeah," she said. "I do." Voss hesitated. "He'd be proud. Your brother, I mean." "No, he'd call me an idiot for not charging the Federation royalties." They almost smiled at each other. The battle lasted 9 minutes. Kara detonated the mines, swallowing the lead tank in a fireball. The rest swerved, their cannons shredding the ridge. She fell, her prosthetic severed at the knee. Voss dragged her behind a boulder, returning fire. "Go," Kara hissed. "Get the others to the caves." "Not without you." "Go." She shoved the isotope injector into Voss's hand. "This is the last dose. Don't waste it." Voss stared at her, nodded, ran. Kara crawled to the crystal basalt tree, her blood painting the soil. The Federation soldiers advanced, their boots crunching glass. She pressed her forehead to the tree's trunk. Memory. The Navathi spire, shattering in the reactor's light. Life from death. A soldier aimed. The tree sang. Its roots erupted, crystalline spears impaling the squadron. The soldiers screamed, dissolving into ash, where the roots touched. Kara laughed, her vision blurring. "Told you to grow," she slurred. The resistance found her at dawn. She lay beneath the tree, its branches shielding her from the acid rain. Voss knelt, pressing the injector to her neck. "No," Kara said. "The kids first. They're stable. This is yours." The serum burned. Kara's veins lit with Hyperion 7's fire, mending bone, purging toxins. She sat up, her new skin slick with sweat. The tree's roots had retracted, leaving a field of glassy graves. Where now? Vance asked. Kara stood, testing her regrown leg. The horizon smoldered, but the air smelled cleaner, faintly, like snow. Ignis Prime, she said. The shuttle was a rusted Federation patrol craft, its hull patched with Navathi crystal. Kara sat in the cockpit, her brother's helmet in her lap. The coordinates glowed on the nav screen. A molten moon-turned garden, a tree reaching for the stars. Vance leaned in the doorway. You sure? Kara ran a thumb over the helmet's bullet hole. Someone's gotta tend the saplings. The crystal basalt tree had grown into a forest. Kara walked beneath its canopy, the leaves harmonizing with old Reliable's hum. The Navathi shard in her pocket pulsed, warm and alive. At the forest's heart, a monument stood, her brother's helmet, encased in quartz. She pressed her palm to the stone. Hey Car, his voice echoed. A trick of the wind or the light. Took you long enough. She sat, her back against the quartz. The sun set, painting the sky in Hyperion 7 gold. Somewhere a galaxy trembled. Somewhere, a refugee drank clean water. Somewhere, a Federation counselor choked on his lies. Kara Vance closed her eyes. The universe burned on. You don't save the world by being its hero. You save it by being its ghost.